welcome to the Q&A Cafe, and welcome to the Q&A Cafe at home and on what other devices you may be using, which reminds me, this is going to be our last Q&A until like October. So I wanted to take, before we start with Deb Johns, a moment to just shout out some people who helped to make this possible. Tom and Enrique and Megan here at the Georgetown Club, they're essential to getting this done. And the good folks at the Office of Cable Television that put it on YouTube and Channel 16, John, Silas, Sean, Oscar, Eugene, Rocky. I suppose we should mention the mayor too, but you know, silent partner. And then the wonderful women who own, Catherine and Sophie, who own Georgetown Cupcake, who have sponsored us with a donation of cupcakes for years now. And all these 21 years, the people who keep coming. I mean, and watching at home and on TV and on whatever, again, like I said, any platform you choose, which is how I will segue into Deb and my little twist that I told her I had for her today.
Here we go. Buckle up, ladies.
Because the fact that I'm mentioning platforms and digital and everything, you know, the world is changing so fast. Yeah. I do not need to tell a small business owner like Deb Johns. So what I did this week, just for the fun of it, was all the emails I sent out and the tweets and the Instagram, I did through ChatGPT. Tiny bit of editing on my part. Okay. But then I got frisky last night and decided I would let ChatGPT craft the whole interview. And I entered, you know, some pertinent things. None of our personal history, but I entered just some stuff.
Sure.
And it came back with a beguilingly kind of sane. Well, you will be the judges.
Okay, here we go.
Because while I'm going to be as conversational as I ever am, and may divert from some of the ChatGPT questions, I thought we would just try to roll with them.
Let's do it.
Use them as a roadmap.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to let them replace me. I just want to say that. Nor could they replace you. But
we'll see.
I imagine AI is. It was interesting. I was listening to an interview that Kara Swisher did with Martha Stewart. And Martha Stewart's very interested in transitioning her business into AI. Yeah. And she wants to become the new Alexa. So it's like, hello, Martha, how do I make that key lime pie? And then Martha tells
Let's make it official, right?
Yeah, you know.
I actually met Martha 2 weeks ago for the first time, which was a treat. And shall I say she is well preserved. I have never seen someone.
She keeps telling us that.
I will tell you. And I said, girlfriend, that cover for Sports Illustrated was epic. She said, I thought I'd stir it up a little bit. And I said, well, I think you're always stirring it up a little bit. Yeah. So it was fun.
And I believe you share, I hope this isn't a trade secret, the same publicity company, Susan and Alan Magrino.
That's right.
Who I've known as long as I've known you.
Alan sent me a note. She said, tell Carol I said hi.
Yeah, no, I think I love that, because Deb and I do go back to when our babies were babies. And it's happy to see that we're still living in the same neighborhood.
That's true.
Still seeing each other on the street. So let's get started. Can you tell us more about the journey of Scout Bags from its inception to cult classic? They knew that.
Cult classic.
That was their words, not
let's
mine.
go with cult classic. Well, I used to do pop-ups at my pool house in Georgetown. I felt like Washington women were not able to see some of the fun things that you might get in like a New York, because the other F word here is fashion. We just were not up with the speed on fashion. We are, I think, much more now. So in that process, I would cull out things in New York and Europe, and I found this great big plastic bag that was plaid. It smelled so badly that I had to leave it on the bench outside the pool house. And it cost me $3.25.
I remember it.
At Pearl River Mart in New York. You probably all know it. And I marked it at 20. All my friends were in like eyeball deep with their kids. We were all way outnumbered. Life was a show. And basically, we needed bags that we didn't worry about. We needed bags that were lightweight, could hold a lot. Long story short, they sold out in about an hour. They were gone. I had a huge stack of them. And then I was overseas on a color board thing that I used to do for this company in Hong Kong. And there was that same plaid through the windows of Helmut Lang in the shape of the Dino, which is our best-selling shape for the 19 years we've been in business. And I said to the guy, I need to buy that bag. He said, no, it's too ugly. And I said, no, seriously, I need to buy it. I bought it for about $450. So the original bag was $325. This is $425 or $450 with a leather bottom. And I called up Ben and I said, you know what, this is wild. Trend starts at the top and the bottom and meets in the middle for most people. So it's proven that this fabric has viability at the top and the bottom. And the rest is history. We went to China. We found a place that would make our check. We did a check instead of a plaid. We foolishly signed up to be at a show in Atlanta. Didn't know what the heck we were doing. Put out these bags and we're like, if anybody orders these, we have to like make a business plan. And basically they did. So that was the very beginning, almost 19 years ago.
Well, you know who else came up with a unique fabric too? Louis Vuitton.
Absolutely.
You know? And they've never wavered from that.
That's right, that canvas that has the great treatment on it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that secret is locked up somewhere. How did you navigate the challenges of scaling up Scout Bags from a small business to a larger operation?
We're smaller than people think, so we still are absolutely a small business. It's all about the people. And I know any of you in business in this room, and many of you are, know that it's about the people. It's about people that want to grow with you. It's about people that want to be team players. I was at a company, trending and forecasting company in New York for many years, and a girl said to me, you played sports, didn't you? And I said, is it my calf muscles? And she said, no, it's the way you navigate people. And it's that teammanship that makes the best go at growing a business. I would also say resources. Obviously, you have to have financial resources. You have to have great partners in your manufacturing and your fulfillment. So finding those great pieces of the puzzle is absolutely crucial. And we've had the same family-owned factories in China for 19 years. They are absolutely our partners.
On what measure do you call yourself small, though?
On the fact that what people think we sell versus what we actually sell is probably smaller than they think. We, I think, have the opportunity through social media to feel big as we want to feel.
Because you're not small on social media.
No, we're not small, and so we'll pretty much do anything on social media. And I promise you, during COVID, I said to my kids, I own you. Basically, you're going to be my models. You're going to have like a mask fashion show. You're going to have like a Scout fashion show. And they were all in, because what else were we doing during COVID? And it was all about entertaining and engaging people and continuing to make them feel like we were there for them. We still sell bags. There's still birthdays, Christmas, anniversaries, graduations, and we're there for you.
Who, was it in the family or outside the family, came up with the idea of you modeling some outfits yourself on Instagram?
It was absolutely because there was no one else. And so in the midst of COVID, I thought to myself, I'm missing fashion. Everybody must be missing fashion, of course. So I said, okay. And I got Gibson, who does, interviewing things, and he was with you on Q&A, which was great, to do sort of little Q&As about fashion. And I have closets full of great stuff that has been curated through the years. And I thought, let's pull it out and have some fun. Now, the viewership is actually staggeringly decent. So I'm just like, oh, really? Okay, let me just make sure like I don't eat too much pasta or pizza that day so I can fit into these clothes. But it was absolutely knowing that people were starved for that esoteric fashion conversation during COVID when nobody was able to shop. And nobody was able to touch and feel the clothing. So, and it was a low bar, man. We were like, all right, look, let's just make this like whatever. And that's what people were doing. They were showing up in their pajamas and making it real.
I discovered Entire World, and that
Total Entire World.
and then it went away, which broke my heart. But
There's still some shreds of it.
Who did the editing for? Who does the editing for you, though?
We have a social media team.
So you just give them the content and they put it together. That's wonderful.
Yep.
So you've kind of hit on this, but with the pandemic affecting many businesses, how did Scout Bags adapt? I think you've told us part of it, but there's probably more to it than just modeling outfits in your hallway. Did you downsize your company? Were you able to stay the same? Did you get PPP? How did you survive?
We definitely got some assistance because we needed it, or we couldn't have survived. Absolutely. Yeah. We also looked at the 1,200 retail accounts that we sell to, and we knew that there would be a period where they couldn't really sell. And how could we expect them to buy into a new line for a new season if they weren't selling it back out the door? Very quickly, our retailers got really clever. They started doing their own social media. They started doing curbside pickup. They started doing virtual shopping. So people waited a few minutes, and then it was like, time to shop. So people started responding back to wanting new merchandise. We looked at the line that we had planned. We cut it in half. We cut it down to the best of the best. We made that in China, brought it in. We also used a lot of our excess fabric for masks. We did a huge business in masks during that time. Before everybody started wearing the real ones with the little nose clip, we were looking very cool in our masks. So it was looking at the resources we had differently. It was learning how to pivot. And when I was doing photo shoots, we had to still put out the imagery. We had to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I said to my kids, seriously, you're my models, let's go. We got a photographer to come in, masked. As soon as they take the shot, they drop the mask, take the shot, put it back on, and that was it. You had to be adaptable. And frankly, not that I think the pandemic was fun, but we did have some incredibly cool moments that we could pivot and have different ways of looking at the world.
And did you learn? You learned things from them that you may still use.
Oh, totally,
sure, yeah.
totally. And I think that we leaned into people that we really trusted for advice. We all kind of banded together as a community. I know in Georgetown we have an incredible community. People were here for each other, even though we couldn't actually socialize as much. We knew there was a community, and that's how we see Scout. We have a lot of loyal customers, a lot of loyal Scout people that we want to make sure we do our best job for, no matter what.
Did you and Ben have any just moment of despair across the kitchen table, though, where you thought, how are we going to do this?
Over our marriage or over the company?
ChatGPT didn't get into that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, the business.
The business.
Well, you can share anything you want to.
Well, I mean, someone said to me one day, how's your marriage? I said, today it's pretty good. Yeah. You know what? He's a great partner, and we laugh a lot, and we argue a lot, but at the end of the day, he's my best friend, and I think you can only do this with somebody you trust that much. But I also will say, there are still moments, because we're still, someone in marketing that we hired before we had our own marketing team said to us, and this was the very beginning of the pandemic, and she said, the aftermath of a pandemic is chaos. And if you don't think it is, it is. And even in the smallest ways, things that you didn't think would be affected, potentially were affected in ways we didn't anticipate. We're still recovering.
Oh, yeah.
From some of it. But we also, again, we learned so much about what we really needed to make a business successful. And again, it comes down to the people. We have such a dynamic, mostly young female team. We have, babies and marriages and engagements and all this stuff happening. And I remember this young girl came to me once, and she literally had like tears in her eyes. She was afraid to ask me. She said, I need to tell you something. We had just hired her, and she said, I'm pregnant. And she was so upset because she thought it would look like she had deceived us. And I gave her a big hug. I said, girlfriend, that is life, my friend. We will work around it. That's what's critically important. So it really comes down to, I think, just how Ben and I have. Someone asked me once if we agreed on things. I said, nothing small, everything big. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
We agree on nothing small. He will
Keeps
say
it
that Deb wore all white today. And I'm like, no, I actually wore black. But on the very big issues, on the really important things about family and business and life, we agree.
Is the business bigger than it was before the pandemic?
It is. It is bigger, yes. But not as big as it probably would be had it not been for the pandemic, yeah. Because I think we rely so much on all of our different portals of selling. We have wholesale, we have our retail on our website, we have Amazon partnership, which sells a tremendous amount for us. I just was on QVC again, it had been 7 years. Baby, it's back. And so there's stuff happening on QVC. And, I show up and they go, well, hair and makeup. I go, no, this is what you're getting. This is how I'm going on. This is how it's happening, all wrinkles and all. But in any case, we do really know that we have all those great portals. Each one of them suffered in different ways during the pandemic, and each one is recovering at different speeds. So we are realizing that the growth needs to be more of a foundational, almost like shoring up, versus growing at the rate we thought we would had there not been a pandemic. So that's important.
This is so much fun. As a fashion trend spotter and fabric color thought leader,
Oh, I like that.
how do you stay ahead of the curve and maintain the freshness and on-trend nature of Scout Bags collections?
I go to Europe twice a year, every year. I figured out that I have been in Paris and London a year of my life each. So that is how much time
bad.
I spend just sitting and watching people. And museums are great, no offense, they're fabulous. But if I can sit on a street and watch people or go into a shop and see how they're shopping, that is where I get my influence. And it's watching all of the different cultures on top of themselves. New York, obviously another one, LA, San Francisco. Washington is not my place of inspiration, but it is my place of absolute strength from the point of view of great, incredible women. I mean, there's no better women on this planet than sitting in this room and in this town. It's true. But these women we are so focused on making change that shopping goes to the bottom of the list in so many cases. We are so focused on making big things happen. Where in New York, I had a friend who basically every day wore a different color head to toe. And she would wear like 7 shades of green. And she owned the look, man. She was like all in. And one day she came in and I said, well, your hair looks a little... She said, well, I don't have any electricity right now. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, it was the Bergdorf's bill or my electric bill. And I was like, okay. And she used to spend 7 or 8 hours on a Saturday in Bergdorf. Not sure what she was doing, but she was doing it convincingly. So my point is, it's a preoccupation in so many places. In those cities where fashion is a thing, you want to go to those cities. I've been to Tokyo not that long ago, to parts of China. To watch women navigate the world of choice and the world of style. Mm-hmm. And what we tend to find is that our customer, she's not cutting edge. She is what we call achiever and balancer mom, someone who does 17 things at once. I say women fish with a net, men fish with a line. Women are like this, and we have to think about, okay, what are we going to wear next Tuesday, and what's for dinner tonight, and when am I picking up the kid, and how am I paying this? It's all at the same time. And so we need someone to curate what we feel is the latest. So I used to do a lot of trend forecasting and all of that, and it's basically cycles. We know cycles of great fashion just come through, and don't throw anything away too soon because it's going to be back. Mm-hmm. If something is quality, it will always be quality. Yeah. We like to think that we deliver quality at a great attainable price point, and so that's really important. But one of my epic successes with Pattern Guys was that many years ago, Selfridges did the front of their store in London with Kusama's, except this is way before the Hirshhorn. First of all, the whole front of Selfridges. I mean, we're talking epic. So I thought, okay, wait, Scout has never really done a dot before. We need to come back and do a little dot. We did a dot in pink and red and navy and chambray. And as we were releasing the line, the Hirshhorn was releasing the Kusama exhibit. Well, that dot was gone. And this is what happens. It's like you sometimes get lucky. Sometimes it's very dumb luck. And other times it's just a gut feeling for what you think could work.
Between the two, London and Paris, is there something you always could rely on from London that was different from what you'd rely on from Paris?
A sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because Brits don't, as a culture, don't take themselves so seriously, in my feeling.
Well, after all, it gave us Twiggy.
Exactly, and gave us
Mary
Vivienne
Kwan.
Westwood.
Yeah.
And you would walk in her store at the end of the King's Road, and the floor slanted, and the clock went backwards, and you thought you were in Alice in Wonderland. There was an irreverence that I think I get, and still get in London. In Paris, I just get absolute beauty and light that you see nowhere else. And frankly, I think that the world has gotten smaller because of so much connectivity with social media, that we all need each other, and people have learned culturally to get along. And, you know, I will say, I just feel like London continues to surprise me, where I would say Paris continues to remind us that it's simple, elegant, a little irreverence that gets style down
Lots
the street.
of rules.
Lots
I think of Paris is that they're just things that you intrinsically follow. That like making a soup. I always remember when I learned how to make soup, and it always started with, you know, celery root, onions, you know, softening the blend.
Yes.
And then you made the soup.
Exactly.
And I think of fashion sometimes that way too. Just the way you choose to wear black.
Yeah.
you just kind of start with a rule or a policy for yourself.
Yeah.
And then away you go.
Yeah.
Well, and it's amazing how this is reading our minds. How do you find inspiration, and what factors influence your decisions?
There was a poem I had to memorize as a kid, and one of the lines was, "A taste of tongue must match a taste of sight, regardless of the time of night." There is something about all the senses that help you curate what you think the next style is going to be. And for me, it's paying attention. It's being a big sponge and just absorbing everything I can. And then something always comes out the other end that kind of keeps floating to the top. It's like, Tucker, my oldest, said to me one day, "Well, Mom, I'm going to go see 20 colleges. How do I know which one I'm going to like the best?" I said, "You're going to always go back to one and compare everything else to it." So when you look at style and you look at fashion, often where you're most comfortable and where you feel the most like you. And when I still dress quite a few women, probably more than I should running Scout, but it's just fun. And when you put something on someone and they love it, their shoulders relax. They breathe.
Yeah, it's such a good feeling.
When they don't, they go, oh, this, I guess this could work. And you're like, no, take it off. Yeah. So I remember the first closet I did. This friend of mine said to me, "Well, you're not going to make me look like you, are you?" And I thought, oh, God, there's no room for more than one of those. I said, no. I'm going to make you look the best version of you, because in the end, it's about being comfortable in your own skin. It's about knowing what you love to put on every day. Black simplifies my life. I work with color and pattern and lots of noise all day. And if I can wear black every day, it just takes that out of the equation.
Where should a person invest the most? What do you spend the most money on? I mean, what's the most important investment piece, or two or three, that people should think about?
It's a great question. First of all, people get
that
really...
That was my own.
Yay, Carol. People get bored buying foundational pieces. They want to buy that opening night look. You know what I mean? I went to a soap opera chick's closet once, and I said, okay, you have opening night covered. What do you wear to the grocery store? I mean, literally, like, seriously. We have to get foundational before we can get overly fun. So whatever your color is, if it's white, if it's navy, if it's gray, if it's black, brown, whatever it is, beige, get the pieces that fit you well. And it's got to be a great pant. Invest in shoes. Invest in a great shoe. You cannot not get a payback. And a lot of us that love the shoes we love, we've had them for years, and they still are fantastic. A great bag, although these days a lot of people are wearing a fanny pack, a backpack, but I think a great bag, if it's something you carry every day, it's cost per wear. It's what you wear the most. And really look at how you live. Like, if you live casually, then don't try to be like fancy. If you when I put dresses on, my skin starts to kind of, and I will do it. I promise I will do it. And I admire everybody here who looks so phenomenal in a dress. It's not my comfort level. So why would I put a client in a dress if her comfort is pants or something like that? So I do think it's a shoe, it's your foundational pieces, and I think jackets. Women need a great couple of jackets in their closet. It's where men get their power in the world of business. It's where it all came from. The great shoulders, the structure, the shape. You can put that over your most basic jeans and a t-shirt, and you will own the room with a great pair of shoes. So it's a jacket, a shoe, and those foundational pieces.
That's so true.
And a necklace.
Yeah, no, and a necklace.
Which I can wear because, I can always see my feet, is all I can say. This gives me dimension, Carol.
I think a great blazer, when you can find it, is worth
Absolutely.
whatever. And when it has that feeling you talked about, that when you put it on, you're wearing it, it's not wearing you.
Yeah.
And then you just say, I don't care what it costs, I've got to get it. If
Exactly.
I have to,
Just get it.
If I have to give up my electricity but you'll be wearing it for 20 years, 30 years.
You will,
It's just-
because
it's
something
amazing.
that good never goes out of style.
Yeah, it is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Up to the moment, what are you seeing right now? I feel like this is the first summer where we are emerged from the pandemic, because last summer we were still wearing masks, we were still watching it.
Yep.
close-knit gatherings and whatnot. But there seems to be a loosening happening, and I wonder if you're seeing that in fashion. Summer fashion trends that are particularly exciting this year, and for men or women.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah, I mean, I think when I came back from overseas from the spring, the trench coat was the single biggest thing that women were wearing at all levels and lengths. And I think that was that transitional piece that got them from spring into summer. Long skirts, again, flowy, long, crystal pleated, layered, bohemian, really just kind of diaphanous and pretty. People want pretty again because they haven't been able to be pretty except for their eyes for a while.
Yeah.
And I think that now women want to feel feminine, whatever fashion that is. I also think that we're seeing a lot of lighter fabrics, gauzes, really lightweight cottons, and we're seeing legs again. We're seeing great little, by the way, costs. If you haven't been recently, that is where the cutest summer dresses are right now. It is fantastic, and that is H&M's older sibling. So it is fast fashion, but with more staying
fast,
power.
a little bit,
A little less fast, exactly. And I do a little fashion reel, and I literally, all the dresses were from Zara and COS, and they were amazing dresses, all shorter except for one, and just easy. You know, I think that we're trying to be comfortable because we want to hold on to those pajama bottoms that we got to wear on Zoom calls, the comfort of those, but we don't want to walk down the street in those. So how do we keep comfort and style and pretty all kind of mixed together?
I love and I find some of the pieces that I really am going to keep, and I keep keeping, are COS, but you know, interestingly, also Uniqlo.
Fantastic.
I have found
I agree.
surprisingly, and especially the things from Inez de la Frissange.
She's incredible. I totally agree with you.
You know?
And they look like, you know, Herno or people like that.
Yeah.
And you can grab their. I heard of a woman that bought all the Inez de la Frissange little down jackets, cut the sleeves off, and turned them into little Herno jackets for a fraction of the cost. So Uniqlo is fantastic.
It is, and I wish we had one in Georgetown. It just
Maybe that flagship down where Nike was. I'm praying for
you
Zara
think you know
or
something
Uniqlo.
that you're telling us something?
We're hoping. We're hoping.
Come on, please. But beyond fashion, what are you seeing? And again, as we loosen up, you talked earlier when we were downstairs about your son learning to cook, or your kids learning to cook. I think that's been one of the most dynamic results of the pandemic.
Yeah.
That we all, to some degree now, I think, weigh a restaurant tab versus, well, I can make that at home.
That's true.
And I don't know how that will ultimately impact the restaurant industry, but I think you care a lot about food. What gets your attention now? Are you a supermarket shopper, a farmer's market shopper? Do you still get home delivery like so much of us did during the pandemic? Do you need to go see the food the same way you need to see fashion?
I love to see food. Like I love walking through a farmer's market. Who doesn't? It's just, it's inspiring. The color alone and just watching what people kind of lean into. Yeah, I'm proud to say all of my family cooks now, which is amazing. I own them all over the holidays. They literally have to produce, you know, in the assembly line, except for Ben. Ben has opted out of that. But, you know, for me, I think that food is really about flavor now. And how does it feel on a plate? Not fancy, but how does it draw you in? I love to eat. There is nothing not fantastic about eating. I would be a size 4 were it not for the fact that I love to eat. And the truth is, hello, like why wouldn't we? There's so much great food.
Yeah.
And in a town like Washington, where the food used to be much more difficult to find the great flavors, now, I mean, just look at some of these great things that have opened recently. I mean, my new absolute favorite sandwich on the planet is Yellow's smoked lamb, like pita. It's absolutely like mind-boggling. It's as good as anything you eat anywhere. I do think I don't have to go find the food anymore just because in my life I don't necessarily have the time to do that. But I will say that I still love cooking it. And I really love having a refrigerator of little bits and pieces of things and turning it into something that actually is kind of cute.
Yeah, it was always fun when you go, well, I still got all this stuff. I'm just going to put it all together and see what happens.
And honestly, you know, really, at the end of the day, Ben grew up at a boarding school, so he's like, well, dude, my bar is very low. I don't eat anything. So
Just feed me.
He's probably not the best critic, but I think that for me, the challenge is I like joints. I like places where I walk in and the food feels like the place. And the food feels like it's not made in mass production. And the food feels like you're just almost in someone's kitchen. In the old days, there was a really cool trend going on in Paris called Hidden Kitchen. And you would sign up on these like super secret websites. You guys remember this? And you would go to someone's dining room and they would cook for you. It was like 20 of us from all over the world sitting there, and I am not a drinker, so my friend next to me was helping me with all my wine pairings, and by about middle of the dinner, it was very clear that she was, because the food portions were small.
Yeah.
And the guy next to me said, it's magic. I'm watching your wine glass, and it keeps emptying, but you never touch it. I said, it is magic. But I think that food is part of that sensory thing. And when you look at the color and you look at the possibilities and cooking shows are like magic. Where were they, like for us, like when we first started our families? There's no excuse not to create great flavors now. And we have so much access to fresh food.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We used to get our fashion, our big fashion messages from, public figures. I think of Audrey Hepburn or Jackie Kennedy and others like that. But it seems now more and more it comes from television. And you know where I'm going. I'm thinking in particular of Succession.
Yeah.
It had such a dramatic impact on the fashion conversation.
Sure.
And I'm old enough to remember when they used to talk about quiet quality in W, but now we've got quiet luxury. And almost all, there was the impact that Sex and the City had to some extent, but though Sex and the City's style wasn't for everyone,
Right.
but it was there. But this quiet luxury thing feels more accessible, and it almost feels like it's wiping out the brand trend, the labels trend. Explain that to us.
I think the no-name fashion, whether it's fast or whether it's Cucinelli, because they don't heavily brand their product, although they do the little detail of, metallic, which costs you an extra $700
There's always a
for
tell.
a T-shirt. So just remember that. But at the end of the day, I think we somehow are validated in some cases by what we carry around on our body. And somehow we believe that people might read us one way or another by what we have on. I think that culturally in the world, some genres of music, some genres of entertainment, labels are really important. It's kind of leaning into label on label on label. It's just culturally a thing. And frankly, I think it's kind of like, it's like when they blew up the polo pony and put it like half the size of the chest was this giant polo pony. That's when I liked it. It was hilarious. So I do think some of it is just a little tongue in cheek. And I think a lot of these, the Gucci's, the LVs, the Balenciaga, Dolce & Gabbana, they all look like each other right now because they're all trying to capitalize on sort of more is better. But underneath that is this current of paring down, taking the excess away, being more subtle. I think you have to pick when you want to be subtle. And I find when I travel through Europe, I'm always very understated because I want to be able to watch. And I don't want people to pick me out as being a spectacle. If I go to something and I want to be like, fabulous for that moment, then that's the reaction you want to get, right? So you kind of go for it. You wear the color, you wear the
statement
shape,
piece. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think that quiet luxury, whether it's really expensive or it just looks like it's made well, and so many of these things from the H&Ms and the Zaras are made incredibly well. My biggest, I would say, no-no in fashion is the middle. The middle is not worth the money. Do not spend it in the middle. Spend it at the bottom.
Give us
and
an
the
example.
Top. The Vinces, the Theories, all those guys. They're all good, but their prices are escalated for what they are. Their quality is fine, but it's not great quality.
For the dollar.
For the dollar, exactly. When I talk to all the young women in my team, I say, look, invest in a great piece or two every season. And things, by the way, go on sale all over the world. Now we have access. Farfetch and all these sites. You can get that fabulous shoe somewhere on sale, I guarantee it. Watch what you love, keep an eye on it, grab a couple pieces, and then lean into kind of the fun of fast fashion, because like cost, that stuff doesn't go out of style. And people used to say it would time out. It doesn't any longer. They've gotten really smart about creating great value and great looks. Yeah.
Now this is back to ChatGPT. I love this question.
Okay.
Apart from being an entrepreneur, you're also involved in philanthropic work through organizations like the Go Fund and Secret Santa DC. Elaborate on your passion for giving back and how it aligns with the values of Scout Bags.
We were just talking about this. Great question. How do you tie the internal and the external of what you stand for together? Because there's so many worthy, phenomenal causes out there. When we found ourselves with a son who had cancer at 11 years old, we said, there's a natural outgrowth here. There are people that need support.
But you didn't you didn't start there. I knew you then. We were friends then, a lot of us here. It was really interesting to me to watch how you turned this family crisis, this worst thing you can think of. You probably hit rock bottom before you turned it around, but because it wasn't overnight. But then you did, and then once you turned it around, you committed to it for a lifetime.
Yeah, it's been 20 years.
Well, I didn't mean to take away from you talking about it, but I think your process of getting there.
Thank you. And Secret Santa has been 30 years.
It's like don't give up. At your darkest moment, there could be something around the corner.
Well, and all of us have had those challenges, and I think we either pull the covers over our head or with the support of our community, and that's what it took to make Go happen. And we have fortunately now really given significant, consistent funding. And this is, for me, what Ben and I really believe in is consistency. We want to lean into things that are local. We want to lean into things that we can continue to do as long as we can do them. Scout gives a lot back. We give a tremendous amount back to the children at Georgetown Hospital in the oncology ward, but also to foster kids who, often carry trash bags from one home to another. Well, guess what? We have bags. So guess what?
Is your principal beneficiary Georgetown, or does it go beyond that?
It goes way beyond that. Okay. It's a lot of little. It's a lot of little. I have a girl that buys, at a very, very deep discount our bags for children's parties because they're in underserved areas. And if a kid can take everything home in a big bag, that's much more pleasant than taking it home in a trash bag. When we do Secret Santa, we now do what we call shelter bags, which are bags where we have given them to shelters locally, but also pack up all those gifts, those great gifts that so much this community has contributed to, and deliver them to the families. And then that bag becomes, if they have a nomadic lifestyle, something that they can lean on. And our bags fold up to nothing. So when that big old bag is empty, you just fold it up and put it under. And you can't say that for a lot of containers.
Yeah.
So we have found that the attributes of our bags are good for every person in every walk of life. And I think, what this group represents in terms of outreach in our community between the arts and human causes and animal causes. Don't even get me started on that. We do things for animal shelters as well, and we're starting to do leashes and collars and things like that as part of our extension. We've done things for babies, but convincingly we have people on our team who believe what we believe, and that is if you can, you do.
How do you incorporate eco-friendly practices and materials into your production
Another
line?
great question. We just were approached by a bedding company. We had done some bedding, but now we're shifting to a new company, and they want us to be the eco company so that most of our fibers would be sustainable fibers, which we're very happy to do. Our bags are made out of some level of recycle, but not enough that we can call ourselves fully recycled, so we really lean into reusability. We get pictures all the times of our bags that are 15, 18 years old. And they literally, you have to try to kill these bags. Like, you have to try. And so we really lean into reusability and lots of different ways you can use that same product. We have people writing into us, showing us ways to do our beauty burrito that folds out for beauty and cosmetics. Woman hooked it to the back of the front seat of the car, and her kids had their little activities out of it while they're sitting in their car seat. So there are things that our products are doing we didn't even know about, which is the coolest part. We just have a few minutes left. Just pull up some anecdotes
that capture the essence of Scout bags, the what it's meant for your family, how it's kind of come to brand your family in a way. But what are some markers along the way that just stand out, and how you got from there to here?
I think that what we least expected was for people to recognize like our family, even though we're out on social media. I feel like it's like not as big a pool as it is. And we were at a gas station leaving the northern part of the country, and our license plate says Scout 1. This very attractive woman walked over to the car, and Ben was inside. I guess, I don't know what he was getting, snacks or something. And she says to me, "Are you Scout bags?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am. How are you?" She goes, "Wait, what? This is happening?" She goes, "Okay, I have to go sit down in my car and call my girlfriend." And I was like, okay, like Brad Pitt isn't standing here. Like, seriously, like, girlfriend, like, calm down. What we didn't realize was that there are people that really, truly, not only like just the bags, but like all the stuff that happens around it, the lifestyle, the storytelling, the philanthropy.
There's a brightness and happiness and optimism to it.
And so that was one. And I think the other thing that's really fun is to see our kids get excited, and their friends will send them images of Scout in the wild. So, oh, wait, I just saw this chick carrying this bag, on the streets of New York, or they see it in London. And people are so excited about that. I did have a friend in the store in Connecticut, and she said that the store owner was telling the woman that was buying our product that she knows us and that we're from Connecticut. So I was like, okay, we've got some doppelgangers somewhere out there, but make it up. I don't care. But at the end of the day, I think that the brand recognition and the story, I didn't realize had as much impact, as far-reaching. And I think for the next generation, a lot of our kids are grown up and they're getting married, they've got significant others, whatever they're doing, they're starting their own lives. Now we have a multi-generational thing happening where the moms bought them the Scout, and now they're buying it for their kids or their friends, which I think is really the most fun to see, that there's actually people out there that think we still can make it happen. So that's another one.
Well, this has been wonderful, and I'm happy to say that we've got a pop-up store downstairs.
Yes.
And all the inspiration that we've taken from Deb, you can go down and give back. And we could just go on.
We could, Carol. We could hang out here all day.
Yeah, and we didn't even get into any of our secrets, so that's good. It's been a real pleasure.
Likewise.
Have a happy summer.
Thank you. You too, and to everyone here.
And to everyone, thank you for coming. See you in the fall.
You got it, girlfriend.
Okay, bye. Bye.